Okay, I think the recording has started. Shall we begin, ladies?
Yes, Meros.
Good morning and welcome to one of our series of WZCC Women Entrepreneur Programs. I'm not going to say much because there is a lot that Arnavaz can tell us, and we'll all learn along the way, learn about her journey. So I'm going to be short and hand over the mic to the lady who is going to introduce Arnavaz. I think that's Ketayan. Ketayan, over to you.
Oh, okay. So hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. So we have today an avid sports person, an entrepreneur, and a compulsive social worker who decides to get into social entrepreneurship and starts an NGO. So let's talk about Arnavaz. Believe me, she has a long list of achievements at city, state, national, international level and awards. As I was talking with Maruk last night or this morning, if I go through every one of them, I'll be taking up the whole webinar. So I'm going to do a little bit of pick and choose to share it with you all. So here we go. So Arnavaz was born and resides now in Pune with her husband. She educated in the Sardar Dastur High School and Wadia College, and she started participating in all school, university, and state level games, especially in hockey. She has 3 daughters, Danish, Anhaita, and Firuzan, who are in their own right a computer programmer, a beauty and hair therapist, and Firuzan represented the Indian hockey team for Beijing Asian Games. So let's move on to Arnavaz's achievements and what she has done. At the city level, she was instrumental in making the first polygrass synthetic turf ground for PCMC in the whole of Maharashtra. She's on the board of directors of Symbiosis Spa Center, and she is also trustee and advisory board of Diana Devi Helpline. Moving on to the state level, she is president of Indian Canoeing and Kayaking Federation of Maharashtra, a vice president of Maharashtra Olympic Association, and she was president secretary of Women's Hockey Association of Maharashtra. So she is into various sports, as we can see. At the national level, senior vice president, Indian Canoeing and Kayaking Federation, former vice president, Indian Olympic Association, member of the National and Pune Women's Council, and she has the manager of the Indian team to Moscow Olympics in 1980, and also the tournament in Japan, Osaka, where she participated and managed the Indian team. Then we move on to the international level. She was a judge to the Sydney Olympics 2000 and Barcelona Olympics 1992. She is also the field judge at the Argentina Intercontinental Cup way back in 1985. She has been an international umpire for FIH and AHF, and she has been the General Secretary of Asian Ladies Hockey Association. Now the awards which she has. She is the recipient of Shiv Chhatrapati Award for recognition as a front runner in organizing and promoting women's hockey in Maharashtra. She is a recipient of the Entrepreneur Award in 1993-94, and also recipient of Puna's Pride Award 1998 for sports and for the sports. She received the International Women Achievers Award 2012 from Human Achievers Foundation in March 2012 for excellence in sport. So here we have a woman, Outstanding Women Leadership Achievement Award at the Women Leadership Congress and Award in 2014. Rotary Vocational Excellence Award in Pune on 2014. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we have Arnavaz, who's going to talk to us about what she has done recently, and that is her NGO, which she has created and which she is managing now. And that is what we are going to listen to her to talk about. So Maruk, I leave it off to you, Maruk, to just do the chat with her to, let us know her entrepreneurship, what she's doing for these people who really need help when they face all these issues in their life. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Feroz has someone else lined up. Am I right?
Yes, we need somebody to introduce you, Maruk, if I'm not mistaken. But
okay, it's Yasmin.
Okay.
My name is Yasmin
Okay.
Medora, and today I have the pleasure of introducing Maruk Barucha, who is going to conduct the session with Arnavaz Damania. Maruk is married. She has 2 kids. She's happily married. She has a son-in-law, and I'm told she has thousands of kids through her line of work. She has spent her life in the service of others, mainly through education. Her academy, Expressions Unlimited, teaches speech, drama, communication, skills, voice, diction, public speaking, teachers training, pedagogy in India and overseas using drama in educational techniques. Everything is with drama in educational techniques. Her company, Kavi, offers training in ESL management, aviation English, and hotel industry soft skills, all using drama as a training tool. She was invited to the IATFL in Beijing in 2008 and Paris in 2009 to conduct various workshops. Maruk has worked as a training consultant in British Council for several years, delivering their flagship English partnership master trainer training programs across 8 states in India. She recently got 2 entirely separate certifications in experimental education and theater of the oppressed training, and plans to use both sets of theories and techniques in her future teacher training programs. She has directed, produced, and stage managed hundreds of plays, street plays, and bespoke inclusive plays for special schools and huge production for mainstream schools. She's a trained, comprehensive sexuality education faculty person. She writes poems, skits, and stories, which she uses as teaching and teacher training material. After all this, she does have some spare time, believe me. She loves reading, listening to music, cooking, baking, and traveling. I now hand over the podium to this dynamic person, self-starter, and motivator, Ms. Maruk Barucha.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. That was a very, very generous introduction, but cannot take the spotlight away from the person or the lady for the day today. Someone who's been extremely inspirational in my life. So like everyone has been introduced formally to Arnavaz. Let me tell you, I grew up calling her Annu Auntie. And it was only very recently that she insisted that she was going to beat me if I didn't start calling her just Arnavaz. So I'm very afraid that her hockey stick might be swung at me someday. So we'll stick to that. Arnavaz, let me start with a question that I've been meaning to ask you for the longest time, especially since I have a sport background as well. Have you felt that your sports background has impacted your professional and personal life? And if so, how?
Oh, definitely. Being a sportswoman, it has brought a lot out in me. It made me accept defeat and gave me the pleasure of, excelling in what I did and taking up challenges. That's why the challenges in my life have been so fulfilling. I've always enjoyed all my life. And as Kitayun just now gave a whole list summary of my life, I really enjoyed doing whatever I've done, and especially for our community. So sports, of course, brings all the best out of you.
Yes, I know. I've sort of seen you help us, to formulate and run ZAP, which was the Zoroastrian Association of Pune before it became ZYA, that was Zoroastrian Youth Association. I know that you've done hundreds and hundreds of fashion shows and pageants that, the Gara one especially was lovely. Oh, what drives you? I mean, where do you get all these ideas from?
I don't know where I get them from. It's there. I can still give you a lot of them, but then, my health doesn't permit, and then I am limited, of course. So I get all these ideas and I want to do more. And youngsters, when they come to me, I'm all the time giving, I'm all the time advising, I'm trying to bring them up, because without taking challenges in this life, you can never get ahead. As I was saying, as a youngster, when we were young, I'm sure many of the older generation will remember that in the beginning, our lives were all a struggle. We all had to struggle. And, I was very grateful that my parents really encouraged us in sports, and being, they were so good that though we couldn't afford much, but sports we had to, and I loved hockey. I still am very happy when our hockey team does well. And and that's what encourages me. And I'm always looking for more. Then after that, I joined Air India. It wasn't only the sports. I joined Air India. And that really gave me a wide perspective of life, because those days it was very difficult to, travel. Even to Bombay, it was impossible those days. And, I traveled and I enjoyed every bit of it. I learned so much, and the exposure that I got, I was always ready to give it to all the other youngsters. That's why, you see, when I had a lot of kids of my family kids coming in May, I thought of starting this ZAP, Zoroastrian Association. I called other families, other parents, and we started this. I've always loved it. I will always loved to initiate something. And then, of course, I move out. I move away from what, because I let people handle it themselves. So.
Yes, I can vouch for that. Been privy to that. Yes, true. Arnavaz, I'm going to be talking a lot more about connecting later, because that entire social entrepreneurship angle. But could you talk us through the journey that brought you to connecting? I know that, you have sort of set up and launched Gazelle, India's, I think, one of the, pioneering unisex parlors in India and stuff. So tell us about, all the smaller journeys that led to this really big thing.
Let me begin with, saying that it was my husband to be at that time who encouraged me to, join Air India. And that's where it just opened my mind as to, you see, in India, we never saw any of those things. And it was so wonderful that I could, he was the one to encourage. Then when I came back, we got married, of course, looking after the kids for a little while. But then he encouraged me, because I love sports. He encouraged me to start my own health clubs and beauty parlors. Now, the health club and beauty parlor was not all. So, of course, I had to get into hockey again. I was president in Maharashtra Women's for nearly 26 years, and then I was president for Indian Women's Hockey, brought India up to the level of third best in the world. And unfortunately, politics took over. And then, of course, I was on the international board also as tournament director in Beijing, as Kaitaim just said. I've done all that. And then, of course, when I did ZAP, I was very happy about it. But again, at that time also, a little bit of politics took over. Okay, you know, we were doing so well. We were collecting funds and we were using for the kids, buying them cycles, buying them shoes, buying them things, putting the young kids all through, you know, even classes, different tuition classes and all that. So it was really a great thing. Now, yeah, why did I do it? I'm sure there are many Zorazap children all over the world. If they've heard about, you know, me talking, they must be happy. That was one of my best years, playing with the kids, being with the kids. We were all really so happy. I helped with a lot of fundraising, as you said, with the Dastu schools and my alma mater. And I must say that I really loved every bit of the fashion show. I had even, what's her name? Tanas Godiwala, bring her food down in Pune. I think that was a long time ago, and how everybody enjoyed Tanas's food. It was really fun. Then came a time when I was awakened to the grief that goes with suicide. I was not too sure if I could handle it, if I had it in me to start something, which was the need of the hour. That was 18 years ago. I went on to the net, searched for, you know, people to help me out, wrote letters. Nobody bothered. For 2 years, I did not get any reply. Then eventually, I got a reply, was able to get Dr. Aruna Jha, who had started an Asian American suicide prevention initiative in Chicago, and who visited her parents in Chandigarh regularly. Well, it started from there. I got mostly principals of schools, a doctor and a lawyer friend, with 2 or 3 other friends as trustees. We formed the Connecting Trust, an NGO to prevent suicide. It all started from my house. Used to hold meetings in Dastu School, girls' school, proud of my alma mater, really and truly proud. Later got a place for an office there too. And I'm ever grateful to the Dastu schools for all they have done for our Connecting Trust. Had started on just about nothing, but my team, my trustees, all encouraged me. We were very lucky to have many dedicated volunteers who helped. But there is one who I'm very grateful to for her guidance, and an ever-willing youngster who promised to put the NGO on a strong footing. So I'll just move aside and let Sandy Andrade take over with Maruk introducing her. She is one who is taking my vision to help eradicate this social menace, at least out of Pune, Maharashtra, India. Before I hand over, I need to thank my husband, my 3 girls, my 6 grandkids, and the apple of my eye, my great-grandkid, for always looking out for me and encouraging me. My alma mater, Dastu Girls School, especially no words to express my grateful thanks to my wonderful trustees who have always been there to support me, the dedicated volunteers, and of course, my hardworking staff. Thank you, dear Sandy, for always being there. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnavaz. Thank you very much. Let me quickly introduce Sandy to everyone. Sandy Dias Andrade is a psychotherapist and has been a trustee with the Connecting NGO. She's been associated with the Connecting NGO since its inception and has literally worked her way up, right from a volunteer to a trainer, to a volunteer trainer, then a mentor, And now she's all set to take over and head it. And she's also the founder director of Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence. Welcome, Sandy. Thank you for joining us at this WZCC WE program and being willing to tell us more about the Connecting NGO. Before I ask you the first question, let me make it very clear that there was a little misconception that was brought to light yesterday. Connecting is an NGO that is for suicide prevention. It's when people are in their deepest forms of emotional distress, at the peak of their emotional distress, you could say, and are actually considering suicide, when they call, and this is a helpline that will talk to them, preferably without being advisory, and see if there's any chance of bringing them back literally from the brink. What is fabulous about Connecting is that I know for a fact that it runs almost entirely on its volunteer base. So it's, for me, that's very important, because a lot of these organizations, when we ask them, about their funding, we realize that about 70% of the funding goes away just, into salaries and stuff. And I know for a fact that almost everything at NGO, at Connecting NGO, is based on voluntary work. So thank you for joining us, Sandy. Since today it's about Arnavaz, can you tell us something about Arnavaz through your association with her at Connecting?
Yeah, I would really like to celebrate who Arnavaz is, and I think we need to. And it was so beautiful, Arnavaz, to hear, all the history and, all the other things you were associated with. And I know you through this connecting lens, but, all through the time at Connecting, there have always been references to Arnavaz being a legend in the field of sports, whether there is a volunteer coming in, whether there is, they remembered her, or they received some award from her. And there are lots of references to that. And it's this, I think, this very same spirit that she has brought to Connecting. Like she shared, it's that intention, right? A very strong intention of being moved and then wanting to do something. Not very often we have people, we are all, when we are touched, that we want to bring it to a larger good. And I think Arnavaz has done just that, and tirelessly, effortlessly, with a lot of grit, determination, just being there and supporting the work. And one can always feel that strong support. I know I have always felt that really strong, supportive presence, and a very enabling presence for the work. And so Arnavaz is the pivot, around which many things have happened at Connecting. And it's that cry of, let's do something. And I think there was a response to that, to let's do something. And it's like many people coming together and saying, yes, let's do something. Let's do something to, be with people who are, like you said, Maruk, right? there at the edge because of the deep emotional pain they are in. And this emotional pain is not always visible, right? And that's the pain that connecting volunteers seek to touch and reach out to and provide a space to people. It's let's do something for the youth and young people who also feel like they have no other place to go. If you look at the statistics of suicide, it's the people in the age group of 15 to 44. That's the highest number, of people who attempt, people who think about suicide, and for them to have another way to know that there can be other choices, perhaps, and there can be support and help. So Arnavaz's vision has always been at also having it at a preventive level, that we can prevent this, and especially among young people. And so, like you mentioned, it's like, I'll talk about the programs a little later, but I really want to mention that that this unique thing about connecting, that it is volunteer driven. And one might say, okay, why volunteers, right? And why have that base of volunteers? Because when you look at suicide, it's not a problem out there. It's not a problem for other people to solve. We are part of it, every one of us, right? As part of being part of society. We are both contributing as well as we are also providing a way out. So the work of suicide prevention really needs the involvement of everyone. And so when when anyone comes to connecting and meets with the volunteers, meets with the kind of work that we do, they're touched. And because they are touched, they want to step forward. They want to step forward to help, to support. Maybe they want to be a volunteer. They want to support in other ways. They want to support with funding. They want to support. They want to be part of it. And I think that's the legacy that Arnavaz has started and initiated and given birth to kind of spark that. Spark that with saying, let's do something. And then this big response that has come over the years from many quarters, from many people joining in and joining hands. If you look, sometimes we say that, okay, when we're talking about somebody feeling suicidal, somebody feeling depressed, that they need professional help. And that's true, they need professional help. But if you look at the number of mental health professionals in India, we have less than one for 100,000 people. Less than one. Yeah. Wow. So we are nowhere near meeting those needs. So it is for people to come forward. It's the community to come forward, to take it up, and to say, yes, we can all do something. Why? Because we are all wired to care as human beings. So the possibility to provide care, support is possible for every one of us. So we can be part of the solution. Yeah. So
can you tell us, Sandy, a little more about what connecting does
Sure.
in the space of suicide prevention and mental health, the program actually has.
Yeah. So I'll just like to then share, a few slides on it to just give a whole idea of the programs that we run. The programs are largely run, like you said, by volunteers, and they're supported by the staff. So they're both. And I'm just going to share slides. Okay. Yeah. So what connecting does is saving lives, and the way we do that is through listening, providing a listening space to people and helping others to be able to listen to people in distress, those feeling suicidal. Yeah, a little bit about, what's the background, and that it is a mental health crisis. It's a big one. It's a big one that we're tackling, and and although connecting is doing good work, we need to do much more, and reach out much more, collaborate much more. And for all of that, there's a great deal of support from many quarters that is needed. During the pandemic, there were more deaths by suicide than from the coronavirus in India. And we know that India's suicide rate is increasing each year. So it is a big cry for help. So this is what our volunteers do. And we have all of these programs. One is the helpline. And the helpline is in terms of providing emotional support through people calling or through emails. Not everyone who calls on the helpline is feeling suicidal. They may just be, feeling very, very distressed, or sometimes even feeling lonely, and just having another caring human voice on the other end who's providing that emotional support is extremely helpful and restorative for the person. Then another program is the survivor support program. So this is providing emotional support to people who have attempted, and also to the families and communities who lost someone by suicide. We know that when there is a suicide in the community, many suffer. The whole community suffers. And there is support required for everyone. And so the survivor support program, what the volunteers do is go to communities, provide this kind of listening, and then look at empowering the community to be able to find their own solutions for the underlying causes that may exist in that community that's contributing to the suicide. Then we have the peer educator program that we run in schools. And I know that this program is very dear to Arnavaz because it is, really dealing with young people and at a preventive level. And I think it's really important to provide this kind of like support. And so what we do, the peer educator program, is we go to school and, the 8th, 9th students. And what we know from research is that youth are more likely to share with their friends that, that they are feeling suicidal rather than the adults. So we train students themselves to be able to listen, first by listening to themselves and getting that emotional support, experiencing it for themselves, and then being able to provide that for their peers, and being able to refer this peer to the right support that might be needed. And then we have the awareness programs where it's about sensitizing people in some way being able to speak about mental health issues, being able to normalize it, that we all face difficulties. And what can we do if we are in emotional distress? And so the awareness programs are open to all, and we do it in communities, we do it in schools, we do it in small groups, we do it for other organizations. And all of these programs are, as you know, they're run by volunteers, but there is the training that needs to happen. So all volunteers at Connecting are trained to be able to do this work and to engage in this work. And the training itself is quite an intensive training of about 3 months to kind of move through the training and to come into the program, and then setting up mentoring systems so that also the volunteers are kind of taken care of. So the vision is to build this kind of community, both within Connecting and also externally, of creating caring communities. And I think that's the vision. Here you can see some of our volunteer-driven programs. That's the helpline, which is it operates from our office. And because of the pandemic, we've really gone to receiving calls from all over. And we hope to take this also pan-India, make it more available, have more volunteers. For that, we need to increase our base. And then we have the peer educator program. So, one of our volunteers leading the peer educator program, and there are other pictures from the hospitals we work with, where we do the support for survivors. And so currently we have over 50 volunteers who man the program, and we want to increase it even more because there is a great need for these programs and interventions. Yeah, Maruk. And if there are any, questions, or if you want to know more, then we can also share the details on the last slide towards the end. But it would be nice if, if there are also questions on this and if people want to know, or it would be great too.
Do we want to go ahead and open it up for
Sandy, I have a question for you. May I?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm Arnavaz Habewala, who is now presently in Chicago, but I live in Baroda. And I am a trustee of about 7 schools run by Baroda Lions Club Education Trust. If we invite you, could you come and help us talk to our peers or train them?
Sure, we can definitely consider that. We are looking at taking our programs to more schools, more communities. And
If it's possible, I can invite some top educators from other schools also, and you could organize, say, have a workshop for about 2-3 days. Is that possible, Sandy?
Yeah, I'm sure we can work that out, Arnavaz. Yeah.
Then I'll need your address or something. I'll need your address.
So I'll just share the last slide then, which has the details. Yeah.
Okay.
So the website is connectingngo.org. And you can write to us at connectingngo@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
This is an age group of 14.
40. Sandy, I have a question. I'm Viraf Debu from Pune.
So,
I want to know whether you only deal with these people who, are suicidal online, or do you physically also counsel them one-on-one, or is this just
yeah.
telephonic or online stuff?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. So our SSP programs, that is the survivor support programs that we run in communities, that we go to the community. So volunteers go to the community, they go to the hospital, they visit there. Of course, in the pandemic, a lot of that was had changed, and there was more online engagement. But now we have restarted that. Also, our school programs are in person. We go to the schools and we interact with the school children. And before the pandemic, we also had the facility of walk-ins at campus, where people who are in distress could also call and come and meet with a volunteer face to face. That has not started as yet, but it would eventually, be restarted.
Great, thanks.
Hello, Sandy, if I may ask a question.
Sure.
That's right.
Thank you very much for that. My only question was, is this, if I want to volunteer as an individual, can I, or is it kind of only for schools and organizations?
Yeah, actually we are. When you volunteer for a program. So that, and all volunteers have their own thing that they are engaged with in doing. And also because of the nature of the work, the number of hours that you need to volunteer is about 4 to 5 hours a week, not more than that. So that, we're also be able to take care of ourselves. So you can definitely volunteer for the peer educator program that we run in schools. And there is a training coming up in the next, in July. So if you write to us, and there is someone will get in touch with you and give you details, and you'll be invited. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. I will certainly be contacting you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Melvin.
We need more volunteers.
Yes. Yes.
We have an interesting question in the chat box. Somebody, Dubash, asks, do you discuss the cases with each other, various cases that come up, to get different insights and angles? So do you take one case and then your whole team discusses it in depth?
Okay. So we follow a particular approach. This is an approach which worldwide is also followed. It's called befriending. And you have the Befrienders International, which operates worldwide. So our model is somewhat based on that, but adapted. So what we train a volunteer in is called mindfulness-based active listening. So it is listening. And what's important when we are listening to people in distress is to allow them to talk about their distress, to allow them to speak about not only what's on their mind, but also the feelings that are there, right? And once those feelings are heard and understood, where the person feels heard and understood, there has to be a felt sense of that. Then, quite naturally, the person starts to think of other alternatives. And so volunteers are trained to listen in that way. So that's what we follow. Then we have debriefs. So it's not like we discuss cases as in what happened, because everyone's following the same way. And the idea is that if anyone comes to connecting or meets with any volunteer, they will get a similar response. So that's why we spend a lot of time in terms of the training and the mentoring of volunteers. So someone coming to connecting is coming to connecting, right? And so even if they are spoken to one volunteer, even if that volunteer isn't there, they know that connecting is there, right? So it gives the person that assurance that if I go to anyone at connecting, I am met with that same responsiveness and care, right? And that's what we want to create. That's that kind of safety net for people. So, but we do have debriefs. So in the debriefs, what happens is that it's not so much discussing what to do with the person, but to discuss what has come up for oneself on account of that encounter.
Sandy,
Because-
I have.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I have a question. You are saying people come to you guys, come to connecting. Is there a program you have where you guys are proactive? And at what age do you start that? Like, do you go to schools and talk to children who are in the 3rd standard or 4th grade onwards, or you restrict yourselves to colleges or to parents, or how proactive are you? And are you proactive in many cities, or it's just right now locally Pune?
Yes, right now it is in Pune. Like I said, the vision is that we are in many other cities because there is a great need to reach out. When we work with, we do go out. So our programs are like the PP program. We do go out to schools. We do go out to communities. We do reach out, like the whole survivor support program. We actively look for people where they are, who have attempted, so that we can meet them and their families. So we initiate that contact. Right. So, so some of our programs are in this proactive way, and some of the programs are more receptive, if people can come out of their own choice. So we offer both options. And when we are working with school children, we are working from the 8th standard onwards. Okay. Yeah. So adolescents, because the rate of emotional distress, suicidal ideation is very high in this age group. And so if they receive the right kind of support and the right kind of environment, through those growing years, they may come out, feeling a little more resilient as adults. So that's the support that we provide.
What about the ratio? Do you see a gender ratio, more girls, less boys, or is there any reason for that ratio, or what is the ratio first?
Yeah, so universally, women do talk more about having a suicidal feeling. They do attempt more, but males, the rate of completed suicide among males is higher.
Really? I thought it would be the ladies who would be going through this.
The attempts are more. The rate of completed suicides among males is higher. So there is a need to reach out to the male population. There is a need to make it okay for them to be able to talk about their feelings and about what they're going through. And that is served by the helpline.
So do they prefer a male counselor, or they are open to women also? Is there some kind of, I'm not looking at just the Indian culture.
Right.
Universally, right. What is your?
So universally, Beros, initially, for a few minutes, there may be that inhibition. But once they sense that you care, you understand, then the connection is at a heart level, it's from one human being to another. So it doesn't matter about gender, it doesn't matter about, race, color, region. Sometimes, when we have calls, sometimes you don't understand fully the language because you may not have the language skills. Yet, you can connect because the connection is at another level. It's not just about understanding, okay, what is this person saying, but understanding the feeling. And at a feeling level, we connect, because across the world, universally, we all share similar feelings.
And what about education? You find a low socioeconomic community more prone to this, or a very highly educated, intelligent person is also prone to this, because it kind of works both ways of the spectrum?
Yes, mental health, mental well-being, suicide, it's a so I don't think it is really specific, because everyone suffers, in their own way. And it's not like, one thing that we have to remember is suicide prevention. It's not like there might not be the support. Sometimes there isn't the support and there isn't the right kind of help. But sometimes it's the perception, right? That I don't know that I can reach out, and I don't know that I can actually say what I'm going through to the people around me who care about me. So there needs to be a widespread kind of like training, I think, in listening, in how do we listen to each other. And the crux of it is in, the name of this NGO, connecting. How do we connect to each other as human beings?
These days we hear a global mental health issue and awareness. Even the royal family in Europe, UK is stepping forward. So you have high profile people, Hollywood, Bollywood, everybody's stepping forward to kind of bring about this awareness. What is it that people like us can do to, to move this forward, or to help in our own way without formally joining some organization or committing to time or something?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question, Behrouz. That's the question we really want to ask and spread. What can I do? Right? And what can I do in my own, like you're asking, in my where I am? And there's a lot that we can do. And what that means is, like I was sharing, is to examine and to explore what it means to connect. A true, genuine connection to just the people around us. To just
You lost. You're being generic, and I want a little thing specific.
Okay. So, for example, when I'm talking about listening, what is it that we can say? What is it that we can do? And sometimes just simply asking, you see somebody a little distressed, a little off that day, simply asking, okay, what's going on for you? I've noticed that, you're not yourself. Is there something going on? I'm here if you need to talk. Without rushing it, without forcing it, without, insisting on it, without providing advice, just being there and checking in on how the person is doing. So these are very simple things that we can all do if we begin to notice. So you also begin to notice, is there a change in someone's behavior? Is there a shift in how they are behaving? Suddenly someone who is very happy, is withdrawn. That's a sign to kind of reach out. You suddenly find that maybe they are, exploding all the time and there's something setting them off. That's the time to stop and to say, okay, is there something you want to talk about? So this invitation is something that we can give if we start to notice there's something here that needs attention. And I'm not saying that we can do this all by ourselves. It may be that this person needs more help, this person needs more support, and that would be the next step, right? But this little space is something that we can all provide wherever we are.
But I think Beros is asking if there is something that normally a person could do to help out. Sandy is right, if you listen to a person, non-judgmental, not giving your opinion, but, talking to them is there. But Beros wants to know that, what can they do to help? In other words, I suppose, by joining, becoming volunteers.
Yes.
That is one, but if you can't, we do have training on Zoom also. Is another thing that you can do is, you have come through the training and which you take with you. You don't have to sort of volunteer. You understand, if you do volunteer, it's a different ball game completely. Mm-hmm. But that's what you can do. You can always, sort of refer our numbers to people who need it. We have our helpline numbers. They are very well-trained volunteers that we have. We have mentors to look after the volunteers. We have, we've got a whole lot of them looking after each other's well-being because they shouldn't take it to their own families. So you see, this is what you learn. When you train, you also take it with you to your own family, to your own, your surroundings. And you use it for your own children, maybe, not your children, but your grandchildren or, whoever's there. It's very useful. That's how we would like to spread more word, monetarily is always welcome. Small donations are always welcome, which we are all the time in need for. But if you're very far away, this is what you can do. I know being in America, we do not accept foreign exchange. But if it comes through, say, ZY or some other person, that can be accepted. We do not have foreign FRCA. We do not accept that because we don't want to get into that, big headache. So we've kept away from that,
Natalie, there is a very interesting question from Viraf. Do you want to take that?
Well, he's asking, is this the question, does any case become personal? How do you keep your objectivity intact? How do you keep it impersonal? What if it becomes very personal to you?
That's part of, and that's why the training is intensive.
Very important.
And it is an important question, but it's not about being impersonal, but it's about being able to listen fully, completely engaged in an empathetic way. And then we do get touched when we listen in that way. And so to be able to take care of ourselves as well, after that encounter, and I think what it brings us in touch with is an ability to then trust life. This is not work that we can just do by ourselves. We need this whole network, this whole community,
Whole thing.
and so much support from many, many places at many levels. Therefore,
Can you put up the helpline number, the contact number? Because I think apparently Maruk is having difficulty. She's got knocked off and apologetic about it, but we can move on. If you can just kind of give us the address, the phone number, put it on the chat box, we will all copy it down.
Yeah.
Because
so
it's,
I can put it in the chat box. Yeah.
Okay. And
you can write to us.
Connecting NGO, right?
Yes, connecting NGO at gmail.com.
And there is a possibility that people can join in or do training on Zoom, even for their own personal upliftment, so that in case in their life they come across somebody, they can, it doesn't have to be a formal thing, right?
Yeah, they'll need to go through the training. Yes, but they can definitely, show their interest in wanting to do the training. Yeah, they're very well.
Arnavaz, how are you getting funded? Are you do you get it from as a plan from companies with their new, donation of so much percent?
Because it's nearly about 18 years. And when we started, of course, it was the Damania trust, Damania money that went in as far as possible. But there were my trustees who also, sort of pooled in. We did get, then we've got lovely philanthropic people like the Forbes, who have always been there for us. We've had the Madhav Foundation. We've had the Bajajs. These are all friends, personal friends. So they do give, but it becomes a little difficult asking them all the time. But now you see that we have been lucky now that there are companies and there are people who want to give for our programs, for our sponsor our small programs. And our small donations are always welcome, Belos. With that, we build our corpus. From the corpus, then we can, utilize the interest and go ahead and do that. Because the training takes a lot from us. And you see, for projects, we cannot show any CSR because you see, it's all volunteer driven. So we don't pay them. So then what do we use the CSR for? You understand?
So the funds that you collect is mostly for training, or you even help the
we now come out with projects. Now that is what you see we are going to do. We are bringing them only projects, which then you see people sponsor those projects. But you see, it doesn't help us because it doesn't go into the corpus, because we cannot save anything. If there is anything remaining, we are taxed on it.
Okay.
So you see, so the corpus, we need to build the corpus, and corpus only is built by donations, voluntary donations. And just recently, you see, we had quite an amount, 67 lakhs or something like that. And we bought an office space because go renting, because Dastu School had to break down their school and we had to move from there. So we had to have our own place, and to get a place, locally in the center of the heart where the volunteers can come is very expensive. So you see, we bought that little place from that lakhs that we got. So now we are without corpus. Thank you, Bilal.
Arnav, I also wanted to know that, do you just help with this, just one aspect, that's prevention of suicide or moving on, or do you also then rehabilitate and do vocational training or guidance?
No, we don't rehab. We don't involve ourselves.
Okay.
It is only a help, a service, because see, we have to be very careful about legality. We have to be very careful. That's why we are non-judgmental. It is confidential. Nobody knows who has phoned up. Nobody knows who has called us or written to us. It's these volunteers all go through a very, very strict, they have to sort of know that this is only for connecting and not to go further.
No,
But
Yes,
we do, Beirut, we do have collaborations with other NGOs. So like, let's say if there is an NGO very specifically working with domestic violence, and there is something that, the person is dealing with, then we do give a referral to that specialization.
We give reference.
Yeah.
Okay. Including if somebody says, I cannot live, I don't have the money, and that is why I'm going to, end my life. And you prevent him from doing that. But then after that, what do you, that's what I meant by
We
rehabilitation.
try and give reference. Like, we know
Okay.
people, so we do try and give them a reference every time. But
Okay.
that's the best we can do, We don't involve ourselves. Even
Okay,
when our volunteers go to hospitals and all for awareness, with the burns ward, we sort of there also it's very impersonal. It is their involvement is there, but we do not take any responsibility for anything.
Okay, that's very clear. That was the best part. Any other questions, Natalie? Are you?
Yeah,
do you
I have a couple questions, if I could. I'm not in emotional distress, but the idea of having active listening and being able to access people who would do active listening for me. There's a lot on my mind. I wish somebody would give me some active listening. Do you know you could have a for-profit side branch of what you're doing just for people who are not suicidal, but for people like me who just want people to hear them? So that you could be helping people who are not at the extreme.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's something. And then on the other hand, you see the crisis as sometimes in America where you have these very, very disassociated people who go off the deep end and commit terrible violence against other people, like with the school shootings. Do you think that the active listening component, had somebody been actively listening to some of these very detached psychopathic individuals, would it have helped? Would it fix things? Should there be like a hotline you can call if you feel this mad about people, that you can stop yourself, you can do something to stop this?
Yes. Yeah, I think that these are good questions. One thing, Natalie, is that our services are open to anyone. So they don't need to be feeling at the brink or feeling suicidal. They just need a space to talk, and they are very welcomed, because a lot of what we're doing is also preventive work, right? And providing that sense of safety and connection. When you're talking about somebody who's violent and experiencing that violence and the impulse to act on it, now what is happening, like on the helpline, like let's say someone were to call the helpline, it's not like, the help and the support and how the active listening helps is that moment of distress, that moment of despair, that moment of anger, of rage, that moment passes, which means that immediate risk is not there, right? But it doesn't mean that all the underlying things that the person is facing, that's all dealt with, will come back again. But the hope is that when it comes back again, they know that, oh, I can go here and I can speak to someone, and I can know that this moment passes and I can feel differently, right? So that's the support that a helpline can give, even to a person who's feeling rage deep rage and violence.
We also are thinking of having cells, later on. This is, you see, we need to improve on what we've already been doing, but we need to put up cells. We want to put up cells also in schools, and maybe, for people to get hold of somebody to talk to, like you said, we are thinking of all that, but it's going to take its time. It's going to take its time.
Anyone else? Any questions? Nat?
Dr. Koka wanted to say something.
Auntie Arnavaz, it's Karishma here. Thank you. In the interest of time, I wasn't going to say anything, but kudos to you. My mom's also from Bhakta school. My mom's Jaru. And what you have done is basically Dastur school. Sorry, Dastur school. What you have done is take the idea of what you've learned in school and then taken it forward to sports.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Arnavaz.
Hello, Arnavaz. You were in Dastur school, is it? No, Bhakta.
Yes, absolutely.
Bhakta school.
Dastur.
Dastur school. Did you know Triti and Nina Dubash?
Yes, oh yes, oh yes.
Yes, they were my Martini Dikrio.
Acha, okay. They were
Nina
senior
no
to
more.
me. They were senior to me, sorry.
Auntie Arnavaz, my question to you is this. Are you writing up your work so that schools and other organizations can learn from the lessons you have got? Because the World Zartushti Chamber of Commerce believes very strongly in this concept of intellectual, social, and economic development.
Right.
The lessons from what you have achieved so far will be very valuable. People don't keep recreating the wheel.
I don't know, Maruk will have to start writing it. So I'm terrible at writing. And of course, Sandy will have to do the needful.
Otherwise, you could do it. My suggestion to you is you could do this through a series of webinars so they can be documented. Then you don't have to write.
Oh, that's another good idea.
Think about it.
Thank you.
Because this holistic, I'll put my email in the chat and I'll be happy to help with that.
Oh, lovely. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely.
I had another thought that for people over here in America, there are suicide prevention groups all over the place. As you know, one of the big groups that's prone to suicide in America are veterans, returning veterans. About, I think there's 1 or 2 suicides a day from veterans. And there are avenues for helping with suicide prevention in, with NGOs over here. Yeah. So if as you grow, I'm wondering, it's not just in India that I hope you grow, but more generally.
Yes, that's our hope too. That and also to collaborate with so many initiatives happening, like you're saying, the world over. We really need to join hands for this.
Any more questions, Natalie?
I'm not sure if we have any more that I'm seeing in the chat box. Really, we've covered what's come up. Just right
Anyone
now.
else have a question or something? Otherwise, we can move on to vote of thanks by Farida. I mean, this has been a real eye-opener in the sense we all had this at the back of our minds. We are all aware of what is happening, but it's always very good to know, to have a concrete place to somebody to go to instead of just wondering what do we do next. So Arnavaz, Sandy, thank you so much. But I just wanted to, let Farida do the official formal thanking and summing up the program. Farida, over to you.
Thank you, Beros. Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the WE wing of the WZCC, it's a privilege to extend a big thank you to Mrs. Arnavaz Damania. More so, it's a very proud privilege for me because being a Pune person and having known her for so many years. It gives me more pleasure to extend our thanks and thank you for taking us through your journey, right from the time that you were in Air India to being a great hockey legend to starting your own connecting the suicide helpline. And I must say that it has, like Beros says, it's been a real eye-opener. And we've realized that mental health is a very major issue and it needs to be tackled. So thank you for doing all that you are doing. Also like to extend our thanks to Maruk for having taking us through this journey with Mrs. Arnavaz Damania. We would like to extend our thanks to Sandy Dias Andrade for giving us such a great insight into the fact that most of the suicides are committed by men, and also the fact that they are committed by people who are much younger in age, from 14 to 40 years age group, and that mental health needs to be tackled, needs to be looked into. Thank you so much. We extend our thanks to all the dignitaries or the board of directors who have joined us this evening. A big thank you to Yazdi Tatra for always being such an asset to the WZCC with all his support that he gives us. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to you all for having joined us from across the globe for this event. Thank you and good day.
Nice night. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Take care of your health. Be safe and keep spreading the goodness that you are doing with Sandy and the rest of us.
Thank you. God bless you all. God stay blessed.